If your ex is acting like you don't exist, it's not because they forgot you. It's because acknowledging you would make the breakup emotionally inconvenient for them. They're choosing distance. So acting like you don't exist is one of the easiest ways to protect that choice. That's why chasing them makes this worse, not better. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't feel anything, but it does mean distance is serving them better than contact right now. So in this video, I want to break down why your ex may be acting like you don't exist, what's actually going on underneath that behavior, and what you need to do if you don't want to help them keep the breakup on their terms. And make sure you listen till the end, because one of the biggest mistakes people make after this happens is they try to correct the distance, and that usually pushes the ex even further into it. If you're new here, hi, my name is Lucia. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back or to get over your ex. And if you're not new, then welcome back, my beautiful no contact army. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is that when your ex acts like you don't exist, they're usually trying to protect the breakup. If they were the one who ended it or they were the one who pulled away emotionally, then contact with you threatens the very space they're trying to create, because the moment they engage with you, it's no longer clean. Now there's emotion, conversation, guilt. Now there's a possibility that they start feeling soft again, or the risk that you hope or ask questions or want clarity or want more. So what do people do? They go cold. Not necessarily because they're cruel by nature, but because distance, it's easier to maintain if they make the connection feel shut down. That's why this behavior can feel so extreme. So you're sitting there thinking, well, how can someone who cared about me yesterday act like I'm invisible today? Because for some people, that emotional cutoff is how they hold the line. They know that if they act warm, it complicates things. If they act caring, it invites more contact. If they act unsure, it opens the door. So they choose distance. The second reason is that acknowledging you would force them to face the emotional consequences of what they've done. A lot of dumpers don't want to acknowledge that discomfort. They don't want to feel your pain or see the impact of their decision. They don't want to feel like the bad guy or bad girl. They don't want to deal with your sadness, your confusion, your hurt, or even your calm disappointment, because once they really see that, then the breakup becomes emotionally real. Often people want the outcome of a breakup without having to fully sit in the emotional weight of causing it. So instead of dealing with the consequences directly, they avoid. They stop responding with warmth. They start acting distant, detached, weirdly unaffected. And again, that doesn't automatically mean they feel nothing. A lot of the times, actually, it means they feel something, but it's inconvenient. And someone can avoid you precisely because contact would make them feel too much, not because they feel too little. Now, that doesn't mean you should romanticize their silence. That's another mistake. So don't sit there telling yourself, oh, well, they must be ignoring me because they love me so much. No. The better way to look at it is their silence may not mean indifference, but it's still silence. And silence is a choice. And by the way, if you would like my help to get your ex back, you can contact me at theartoflove.net/coaching, and we will send you the rates. They are not on the website, and the link to that is underneath every single video and podcast. Okay, the third reason your ex may be acting like you don't exist is that they do not want to reopen something that they just closed. And this is especially true when they believe that any contact with you is going to become emotionally heavy. And yes, I'm talking to those of you with an anxious attachment style. And let's be honest here, sometimes they're right. A lot of people say they just want one simple conversation, but what they really want is reassurance, answers, validation, hope, or of course, another chance. And that energy comes through. You can't fake it. So if your ex feels that even a small interaction is going to lead to a bigger emotional pull, they'll avoid the interaction completely, because from their point of view, even one conversation can feel like the beginning of getting pulled back in. And if they don't want that, or they don't trust themselves with that, then distance feels safer. This is one reason why some exes are actually more comfortable reaching out months later than they are right after the breakup. Right after the breakup, the emotional charge is too high. The expectations are too high. The pressure is too high. So they would rather act like you don't exist than deal with any of that. And so if you are in no contact and you need help to stay in no contact, be sure to download my app Silencio, where you can count the days you've been in no contact, hit the panic button if you're about to break it, and post your story in the community and get help from everybody else. And of course, the link to that is underneath every single video and podcast. And if those of you who still practice the ancient art of reading books, ebooks, then you can also download my book, No Contact Secrets, at nocontactsecrets.com. Okay, the fourth reason is that they're going to assume you're still there. And this one is huge, and it explains why chasing after a breakup usually backfires. If your ex believes you still want them, still miss them, still care, will still respond if they reach out, then they don't actually have to confront the loss in a serious way. They may have broken up with you, but if your energy is still fully available to them, then they don't really experience your absence. They experience your pain, your pursuit, your continued investment, but they do not experience your absence. And that's why some exes can look almost bizarrely comfortable acting like you don't exist, because in the back of their mind, they believe that, well, you're not actually gone. They think you're still there if they want to circle back, that they still have emotional access and they can come back later and test the waters. They think the door is still cracked open because you keep showing them that it is. And this is where a lot of people get trapped, because they think they're fighting for the relationship. But what they're really doing is removing the consequences of the breakup for the other person. And once you do that, your ex has even less reason to feel urgency, curiosity, or concern. The fifth reason your ex is acting like you don't exist is control. Now, not every ex is consciously manipulative, but breakups often create a power imbalance. The person who wants less contact has more power in this dynamic. And if your ex knows you still care, they may unconsciously settle into a position where they control the distance. They decide when to respond, whether they engage, how much warmth you get, how much ambiguity you have to tolerate. And meanwhile, you're left reading into delays, crumbs, social media activity. That's why this dynamic is so destabilizing. It's not just that they're gone. It's that they're gone in a way that leaves you off balance. And when you're off balance, you're more likely to chase, to over-explain, to ask for clarity, to accept scraps, because scraps feel better than nothing. And this is how people stay stuck. You have to learn to sit with not knowing. But for most people, that's very difficult. And that's exactly why your response matters so much. But before I get to that, there's one more reason we need to talk about. Sometimes your ex is acting like you don't exist because they are focused on other options. And that could mean another person. It could mean dating, attention from other people, enjoying the freedom of not being tied down. It could mean distraction. Whatever the specific form is, the point is the same. Their attention isn't with you. And I know people hate hearing that, but pretending it's never a factor doesn't help anyone. Sometimes an ex goes cold because they want a cleaner runway into whatever comes next. Sometimes they don't want emotional overlap, so they don't want to feel guilty while exploring other options. Again, I know, harsh but real. And this is why begging, explaining, or trying to remind them of what you had usually does not work, because when someone is oriented away from you, more pursuit is not going to create attraction. It creates more pressure, more guilt, more avoidance, or more certainty that breaking up was the right thing to do. Now, let's talk about the mistake that most people make when their ex acts like they don't exist. They panic. And that panic makes sense because obviously being ignored after intimacy feels very unnatural. It makes your nervous system want to restore reconnection as soon as possible. So you text, you explain, you ask if they hate you, you send a long message, you try to be understanding, you try to be mature, you try to clear the air. That's a famous one. You try to show them that you're not a threat, and you try to remind them of your bond. But what usually happens? You make it easier for them to keep the breakup exactly where they want it, because now they don't have to wonder how you feel. They don't have to miss you. They don't have to experience the actual emotional cost of losing access to you. They don't have to face your absence. You are doing the emotional labor of staying connected while they enjoy the distance. That is a trap. And if you're able to see that, the strategy becomes clearer. If your ex is acting like you don't exist, stop trying to interrupt the consequences of that choice. Stop trying to rescue the connection they're stepping away from. Stop trying to make them more comfortable with the breakup while you're becoming more miserable. Stop trying to prove your value to someone who is actively creating distance. You do not respond to this by begging for attention or answers. You respond by making your absence real. Not fake indifference, not posting things to get a reaction, not sending some grand final message, real withdrawal. You cannot chase someone into feeling the weight of losing you. Backing off is about refusing to help them keep you half available while they are half gone. That arrangement destroys people. Now, could your ex feel your absence later? Of course, that happens all the time. Once the pressure drops, once the breakup becomes real, once your availability isn't obvious, some exes do start to feel curiosity, relief. They feel relief fading, guilt rising, nostalgia returning, or attraction reawakening. And in fact, if you heard my video from a few weeks ago titled, I Got My Fearful Avoidant Ex Back After 7 Months, then you know that this is possible. And I'll put that link on the YouTube video in the upper right-hand corner. However, the point is not to sit there performing silence and secretly hoping that it works. The point is to actually step out of this one-sided dynamic. Whether your ex comes back or not, your power starts returning the moment you stop participating in your own neglect. That's the line I want you to remember. Your power starts returning the moment you stop participating in your own neglect. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let the breakup become real for them instead of only real for you. And in the meantime, get your dignity back. Get your nervous system back. Get your center back. Because the goal is not just to get noticed again. The goal is to stop handing your value to someone who is choosing not to hold it. Okay? So if you have any questions or comments about anything I've said, please post them below. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or episodes. And in the meantime, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.